Okay, Hare Krishna.
Where's Suresh?
He's coming.
What were they all doing?
Well, Suresh is so overworked today.
What?
So I'm gonna help him. He's like got so much to do.
Okay. Alright, we're reading from Conception of Gita Nagari Part 2. Some of this part here is actually getting repeated with Part 1. But anyways, we'll read it like that. This is alright. So this part 2 kind of like overlaps with part 1, but anyways, the first part is a partial copy of the last part, and it has been edited for publication. And then, so, okay, we will start from the paragraph beginning. The Gita Nagari may properly utilize the huge fund collected to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi.
Do you have a page number?
Page number?
Yours is different. We have like a PDF document.
Oh. It says the Gita Nagari may properly utilize...
Page 15.
Okay.
The huge fund. Is it Christian there?
Yeah, I found it.
Huh?
Is it Christian?
Oh, okay, I thought he was saying. You can use.
I don't use.
You understand. You?
Okay.
Page 15, is it?
Yes.
1-5. Okay. The Gita Nagari may properly utilize the huge fund collected to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi in the manner as above mentioned in 4 principal heads, because Gandhi's memory can only be preserved by his exemplary activities and not by simply erecting some big buildings or statues as we see the general tendency is. The Bhagavad Gita asks every big man to perfect his life with the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and then set himself as an example for the benefit of the people in general. It is said there, Yadyat acharati shreshthas tata devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurude lokas tadanuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men will follow. And whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. It is foolish to follow the proverbial principle of putting a cart before a horse or putting old wine into a new bottle. It shall be the duty of Gita Nagari to agitate against the Gandhi Memorial Fund being utilized otherwise than in a manner befitting the teachings of Bhagavad Gita approved by Mahatma Gandhi.
No. Do we ask questions at the end, or
You can ask now.
can you explain what exactly Prabhupada saying, like putting a cart before the horse, or like old wine in a new bottle? Like what's exactly the point?
So he's saying that basically he explains that the Gandhi Memorial Fund being utilized in otherwise than in the manner befitting the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, because Prabhupada before this makes the point that unless you follow Bhagavad Gita, you can't actually benefit people.
Oh,
And that Mahatma Gandhi also understood that, therefore he gave importance to Bhagavad Gita.
yeah.
But all of you all are using Gandhi's memorial fund saying that you're going to benefit people, but you ignore Bhagavad Gita. This is like putting the cart before the horse.
Okay. Makes sense.
And yeah. So that's...
Mahatma Gandhi fought with the adamant British imperialism by his indigenous method with the touch of spiritual strength, and after obtaining our independence by such method, if we simply imitate the mode of Western civilization, certainly it will be difficult for us to preserve such independence by some foolish plans made in London. If we want to preserve our independence at all, we must give up the London-made ideas so scrupulously adhered by our political leaders. If we eat fire, we must be ready to pass cinders. The mode of Western civilization is sure to produce such social upheavals as Bolshevism or communism, and as if India wants to set an example of if India wants to set an example of social peace and prosperity, she must be ready to accept the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. The speciality of Mahatma Gandhi's movement was beginning from Charkha up to the end of his life, singing Ramdhun by chanting Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. All were indigenous methods, and none of them were borrowed from the Western philosophers. Even when he had attended the Round Table Conference in London, he was present there in his indigenous dress without monkeying the Europeans as others do. And for this behavior, he was never disrespected, but on the contrary, he was welcomed there as an independent king would have been. As such, if we open some big hospitals to accommodate the diseased persons in greater number, and thereby encourage the persons of encourage the process of infecting diseases, or erect some marble statues as a place of sitting for the crows to leave their stool, then certainly we shall be doing disservice to Mahatma Gandhi, who was 100% Indian in thought and action.
There's so much interesting things that Prabhupada is saying here, which is basically about giving up London-made ideas. And so you can see Prabhupada's mood where he's saying that there are, whatever Gandhi did was indigenous, and referring to Vedic culture and wanting to do things in the way things have been done in Vedic culture. And this is an extremely important part of the Varnashram culture that we want to establish, is that we want to do things the way people did it in the past. And we want to do it in line with how things were done in Vedic culture. Of course, there are going to be some modifications according to, place and like that. But overall, Srila Prabhupada, the things that he mentions, he says that even when he attended the Round Table Conference, he was present there in his indigenous dress. Meaning Prabhupada is very, very gung-ho about how we should be representing our parampara, representing who we are. And standing out because we want to stand out, so that we tell people, yes, we are different. We're happier and you're not. And why? Because we're different to you. And people need to recognize the difference so that they change that themselves. So nowadays, the preaching method is don't be different. Don't show yourself as different. Just go and merge. But that's not, you'll see and Prabhupada followed that same thing when he came to the West also. He refused. The sannyasis were wearing, Vivekananda also did that. He was a sannyasi, but he wore like a coat and suit and tie and all that, Prabhupada refused it.
Bon Maharaj do that?
Huh?
Did they, Bon Maharaj do that?
I'm not sure. I think maybe, I'm not sure. I don't know what Bon Maharaj did.
Okay.
So, anyways, that's an important point to note about indigenous methods and how Prabhupada is saying none were borrowed from the Western philosophers. So we don't want to borrow these ideas from the Western philosophers. Psychology and this and that and all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah. Another interesting thing is also that this whole concept of having big hospitals also, it's a Western thing. It's a modern thing. They didn't have it in the West either in the past. This idea of having big hospitals. So, in Varnashram culture, you have smaller system of caring for health and things like that. You do have doctors, the Kaviraj is there, but it's more localized.
More personal.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi wanted to cure the disease of the heart. He always pleaded for a change of heart for the Asuras. And that is the root disease that is sought to be cured by the method of Bhagavad Gita. Such disease is caused by the process of forgetfulness of our eternal relation with the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. And the seed of such disease germinates in different stages within the heart, called the potential stage, undeveloped stage, and developed stage. Or in other words, in the subconscious state, conscious state, and then the manifest state. The Indians must set examples to open hospitals to cure diseases of the heart in different stages, and the mode of treatment shall be conducted in the Gita Nagari, according to the plan of Bhagavad Gita. Unless one has purified one's heart, no amount of antiseptic methods can save him from destruction. One must be purified both externally and internally. Externally means physiologically, and internally means psychologically. Physiological treatment will never help us to remain free from all disease, because all diseases sprout at the beginning psychologically. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita as follows: Bhumirapanalo vayu kamano buddhirevacha ahankara idiyame bhinna prakritir ashtadha aparayamitastvanyam prakritim vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Mamaivang so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind.
Another main point here is that Prabhupada is saying that devotees must open hospitals to cure diseases of the heart in different stages. The mode of treatment shall be conducted in the Gita Nagari according to the plan of Bhagavad Gita. So that's another important point to understand, that while modern hospitals may have big facilities for curing all kinds of things and this and that, they don't cure the lifestyle, nor do they cure the desires of people that lead to these diseases and all this sinful stuff. Like for instance, modern hospitals may be very expert in curing or treating different types of sexually transmitted diseases, but they don't treat the root cause of sexually transmitted diseases, which is illicit sex. You don't have illicit sex, automatically a lot of that is going to be practically nil or negligible. So they don't do that. So many things like this. So that's another reason why sometimes we can wonder, how is it possible to live without hospitals? But these hospitals are actually a result of modern life. And if the lifestyle is overall healthier, you don't need these big hospitals. And people in Vedic culture are not very interested in prolonging their life either. So we have some major disease. Guru Maharaj speaks about this controversially many times. It's quite controversial to state that in today's day and age. If something it's time to go, just go. Or spend all these things, stick a bunch of like tubes in your body, and kidney failed, okay, it's over. But now you have these big dialysis.
Yeah, dialysis.
Yeah, like that unit and this and that. And in Vedic culture, if both your kidneys are out, you are gone. That's it. Bye bye. So.
Yeah, Prabhupada, when he was performing the pastime of leaving, he adamantly refused for his disciples to put him in a hospital.
Yeah, he refused, yeah. Yeah, he did. Okay.
Earth, water, fire, air, and the sky are the 5 principal elements of the physical world, and the mind, intelligence, and false ego are the finer elements of the psychological world. Therefore, all sciences and arts, including the science of morality, religion, and theology, all belong to the external energy of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, we should not therefore make an end of philosophical search here only, but we must have to enter into the realm of the internal energy of the personality of Godhead, particles of which are manifested in the shape of living beings. The living entity is never the product of the elements of the physical or psychological elements, but it is made of a different ingredient, produced from the internal energy of Godhead. Such eternal potency is the target of Bhagavad Gita, and if any treatment has to be done for the diseases of the human being, it has to be done from the very inception, namely from the internal potency. Such treatment only will make every living being hale and hearty. As such, the Gita Nagari has to minister the treatment of diseased persons, both externally and internally, as above mentioned. There is practically no hospital for the treatment of the internal potency, and Gita Nagari must be very much alive to this point of view. For such internal treatment of the human being, Bhagavad Gita will always help us. Ya Shastra Vidhim Utsarjya Vartate Kama Karataha Nasatitim Avapnoti Nasukam Na Param Gatim Tashmas Shastram Pramanam Takarya Karya Yavastitao Yatva Shastra Vidhanuptam Karamakartam Miharasi. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, 23 and 24.
Note here that Srila Prabhupada is saying that as such, Gita Nagari has to minister the treatment of diseased persons both externally and internally, as above mentioned. So, physiological, psychological, externally, internally. And, Srila Prabhupada is making the point here, and as devotees we need to understand and accept this point, that once we establish a Krishna conscious lifestyle that is based on the principles of Varnashrama Dharma that Krishna himself presents in Bhagavad Gita, then the living entities can become hale and hearty, both internally and externally. Now, how the treatment of these things will actually be administered, and how such people will be gradually brought to that point is basically what our duty is. That's a big question. If you think about all the types of crazy mental disorders that are there in today's world, and how there will be many people who, if you establish a nice ideal environment, these people are going to want to come to a farm community like this. And unlike a temple atmosphere, a farm community is actually eventually meant to develop into a plan and system where, in the bigger picture, we'll be reading more conversations later, Prabhupada was even willing to accommodate meat eaters. So this is and we'll never accommodate a meat eater in the temple atmosphere, will we? So, how you would get there is a whole. It's something that we can't sit in this room and figure it all out. We have to start taking steps. It's like when you're faced with a lot of fog, if you want to find your way, you can see just a little bit right now. And unless you take your further steps forward, and with the help of some light or something like this, whatever light you can, you carefully take a few steps forward. So, and you take your steps forward in such a way that you will be able to backtrack if you need to. That's what we're faced with. It's like you're walking, you don't know, there's probably a cliff somewhere. It's like, ooh, and then you see that stone fall away, and you're like, okay, I think I can back up right now because I'm not running, So you're taking steps and you're being cautious and making sure your current position is secure and able to take the next step. So this is kind of how, But we can't do that. Why we discuss it? We can't do that if we aren't convinced, as Prabhupada is saying here, that Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. This is Shastra. Shastra is saying that if you become Krishna conscious, all your material and spiritual needs will be satisfied. Now, to make the society overall Krishna conscious, to facilitate that Krishna consciousness, which means at the center of that society, the Brahmanas and the cows are protected. This is the centerpiece of that society. You have Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho with Brahmana and Go Hitaya, protection of the Brahmanas and the cows. Then the society that can facilitate this, the administrators who have this as the central motivation and who respect this, that there should be central worship of Vishnu that is conducted, there is Shravan Kirtan, there is protection of the Brahmanas who are the guides of society. Brahmanas are meant to live exemplary lives, and the cows are protected and the bulls are engaged. Cow protection means oxen and cow, both. Then the Vaishyas conduct business in a manner that doesn't degrade this core principle, doesn't degrade the Brahminical principles, doesn't degrade a form of life that is based on, is an agrarian form of life. It's based on the land, it's based on the natural resources that Krishna gave. Then you have the Shudras and you have others. All are not pure Krishna conscious people, but as we read previously in this article, in previous classes, Prabhupada says, even if a fraction of the society becomes Krishna conscious, the whole world will become happy. Even if this part becomes happy and peaceful, then the whole world will become peaceful and happy. So we have to take steps in order to keep that as the central goal and try to see how you can expand the field of administering the treatment of diseased persons both internally and externally. But the task is big. I mean, considering all these people with so many mental problems. I mean, just whatever little, and I'm not even directly out there, the book distributors and others, and what kinds of people you meet, and how these people are ever, it's like that guy who just came the other day.
Me.
Yeah.
He got arrested for that?
Huh?
He got arrested for that.
No.
That's the police report?
No.
He went and filed a police report.
He filed that.
Yeah.
The government stole his identity by giving him an identity.
Yeah, he's a coward.
So I mean, it's powerful, right? So
All the police on the government are giving him an identity.
how exactly would it happen? Is we don't know right now, and but anyways, we have to at least we should try to understand the scope of the other 50% of the mission. It's huge. Right now we're in this temple. We are a very small little crowd here that basically has significance in Krishna's terms, but in terms of the world outside, we are as insignificant as it gets. And our requirements are also so high. You don't fit that, you're out. It's we can't even accommodate all kinds of devotees here. It's what to speak of the requirements. You may be chanting 16 hours before talking to principle, doesn't mean you can live here. That's how it is. So, anyways, yeah. It's a long way to go.
Whatever we may attempt to do in this world, there are some guiding authority books in that region. To do such things in an ordered manner or in a standardized method, we have to consult such a book of knowledge. Without consulting such a book of knowledge, if we simply follow our whims or caprices, it is not possible for us to be happy in life. Neither is it possible to be successful either in this or the next life. As such, it shall be the foremost business of Gita Nagari to chalk out its plan of action strictly on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, nothing more or nothing less. Bhagavad Gita is acknowledged to be the condensed form of milk of all knowledge, and it is said that this pure milk is obtained from the knowledge cow of all Vedas and Upanishads, milked by Lord Sri Krishna himself in the presence of Arjuna, who is compared with the calf of the Upanishads. The milk of all Upanishads has to be distributed throughout the world by those who are actually devotees of Lord Krishna. There is hardly a second authority book like this in any other part of the world.
Okay. Continue, Navani.
We should note very particularly how we have become degraded due to our gross ignorance for want of proper knowledge and discerning what shall be done by us and what we shall not do. Our foolishness has entangled us in the chain of absurd work and its reactions. If we want it all to become free from such entanglement, it is our duty to look towards Bhagavad Gita. And to propagate such pure transcendental knowledge shall be the main business of Gita Nagari. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmana shasha bodhavyam gahana karmana gatihi. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Bhagavad Gita 4:17.
It's very interesting here how Krishna in this verse, note, Krishna is saying that it's difficult. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. And the very same thing he says, therefore one should understand. One should properly know. Meaning that just because it's hard doesn't mean that you don't try to do it. You have to do it. You must understand what should be done. What is vikarma? What is akarma? What is karmana? So you have to understand these things. Yeah, go on.
Simply to move hands and legs is no work. There must be a brain behind such movements of limbs, and that would be considered as proper work. We must make an analysis of real work, unreal work, and also foolish work. It's not easy to give up direction for any of the above-mentioned works without any reference to Bhagavad Gita. When we are able to discharge the prescribed duties of the book of knowledge, it is called real work. When we do work without any reference to the book of knowledge, it is called unreal work. And when we do things foolishly, it has no value whatsoever. Those who have no knowledge of the prescribed duties are undoubtedly foolish workers, entangled in the reactions of their foolishness. And those who have tasted the bitterness of such foolish entanglement are called renouncers of work altogether, dressed in many colorful dresses for earning the maintenance of the body and soul together. There are others who are material scientists, or in finer way, the mystics who may be called a different grade of workers of the same category. But the transcendental workers who shall work under the plan of Bhagavad Gita shall only be able to live in a happy life, of peace and prosperity, by dedicating all the results of their activities unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead.
So, when one discharges prescribed duties, when one has no knowledge of the prescribed duties, they're foolish workers and get entangled in reactions of their foolishness. And what they do, then when such people have suffered too much, they try to renounce it. And then Prabhupada writes here that those renouncers are dressed in many colorful dresses. And what do? They simply do some show to keep the body and soul together, because they're earning some respect, earning some fame in society, like this, and they in that way. And then there are others who are material scientists or mystics who may be called a different grade of workers in the same category. But only people who follow Bhagavad Gita, who work according to the plan of Bhagavad Gita, will live a happy life in peace and prosperity. So now you can understand where this word Gita Nagari comes from. Gita Nagari, Nagari means city or community. Nagari. Nagar, Nagari, it's similar. So, Gita Nagari comes from the word that the community of Bhagavad Gita, or like community based on Bhagavad Gita, like that. That was Prabhupada's conception of this word Gita Nagari. Such a beautiful name, actually. Among all the farm communities, that's the favorite name. It's really nice. But yeah. Okay.
Next. Under such cooling shade of peace and tranquility, the people in general will be able to follow the footprints of the Mahatmas, and thus being influenced by the internal energy of Godhead, they shall be able to combine themselves for a higher mission of life. Mahatmas who are already under the influence of internal energy of Godhead do possess themselves immense strength for the deliverance of the fallen people of the world. But although they possess such power, they exercise such strength in a corporate body in order to give a chance to the less powerful souls who intend to serve God. Sri Bajranga Ji Hanuman, although he was himself competently able to combat with Ravana, still took help from a little spider in the matter of constructing a bridge over the Gulf of Ceylon, in order to give such a little being a chance of service in the service of Sri Ramachandra. What to speak of Sri Hanumanji? Even Sri Ramachandra, who is the personality of Godhead himself, possessing all the power to create, maintain, or annihilate the whole universe, played the part of a man and took the help of his monkey devotees in order to deliver Sita Devi from the clutches of Ravana. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all the men assembled there and could have been killed within a twinkling of an eye by a mere symbolic sign of Sri Krishna, were requisitioned to fight with Bhima and Arjuna in order to give credit to his, Krishna's, most beloved friend and devotee. Therefore, the inhabitants of Gita Nagari want to establish a perfect kingdom of Hemen, Rama Raja. They can endeavor to do so combinedly in the service of the personality of Godhead. The inhabitants of Gita Nagari shall therefore engage their everything, namely their life, their wealth, their intelligence, and the words in the service of the Lord. That is the practical way of living life of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva guyatamam bhuya shrinu me paramam vachaha itsosi me dhridam niti tato vakshyami te hitam sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva bhavebhyo mokshayisyami ma suchaha. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
So here, Prabhupada addresses the point that if one thinks, well, this is a very big task, how are we going to do this? This is very difficult and we don't feel like we're capable of doing this. We don't feel like we have the potency to do it. And Prabhupada makes the point here that under such cooling shade of peace and tranquility, people will be able to follow the footprints of Mahatmas. But the Mahatmas, they're already under the influence of the internal energy and they possess immense strength for the deliverance of fallen people in this world. That's direct quote from Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashritaha bhajantyananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam. So, that Mahatmas are those who are sheltered under daivim prakriti. They are under the shelter of the internal energy of the Lord, divine energy of the Lord. So Prabhupada makes the point that the devotees who follow and who established Gita Nagari like this, they are Mahatmas, and those Mahatmas would have immense strength and ability to come up with the most unconventional ways and ideas based on Bhagavad Gita in the service of the Lord in order to deliver the people. Basically, Prabhupada is saying that those who do this, they will become empowered. Devotees will become empowered. And that's basically the message that Prabhupada is saying here. And he's giving all these examples of Hanuman, and he says Bhima and Arjuna, and like this. Therefore, the inhabitants of Gita Nagari want to establish, Ramarajya, they can endeavor to do so combinedly in the service of the personality of Godhead. So, if they engage their life, wealth, intelligence, and words, then Krishna will take care. And then Prabhupada quotes that, that abandon all varieties of religion, surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So Prabhupada, don't fear. Krishna himself saying, don't fear. So that's what Prabhupada is addressing here. Okay.
Those who are simultaneously violent warrior, worker without desire for fruitive result, erudite scholar for knowing God as He is, and pure devotee of the personality of Godhead. Such personalities only can serve the purposes of Bhagavad Gita, for the benefit of all concerned. Such heroes of transcendental fame are very dear to the personality of Godhead, and for them only it is said in the last portion of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that one should only carry out the order of Godhead and nothing else. And if in doing so anyone is subjected to tribulations for non-performance of their duties, he, Sri Krishna, will always save him, for that he may rest assured. The personality of Godhead is the only original friend and philosopher of everyone, and he is the father of all living beings. Bhagavad Gita is his transcendental word, and it is identical therefore with Godhead in full potency. Great Mahatmas do try to know this ultimate truth themselves, and try to preach to others this sublime truth. The ultimate truth is that God, the world, and the living entities are co-related with one another as a complete whole. The personality of Godhead is the supreme Brahman. Nature is the infinite Brahman, and the living entities are infinitesimal Brahmans. In that spirit only, we can know that everything that be is Brahman and nothing but Brahman. Bhagavad Gita is the synthesis of the ultimate truth in the fact that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the begetting father of everything. Nature is the supreme mother impregnated with the seeds of living beings, and the living entities in multiple forms of different species of life, 84 lakhs varieties, are the children of such father and mother as above mentioned. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamiham sambhava sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata sarva yonishu chunteya murteya sambhavantiya tasam mahad yonir aham bhajnapita. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharat. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and I am the seed-giving father. Bhagavad Gita 14:3 and 4.
That's pretty straightforward. Any questions, any topics of discussion that you would like to bring up? Yes.
There's one question. In this previous paragraph we read, so Prabhupada says here, maybe you just elaborate on this. Those who are simultaneously valiant warrior, worker without desire for fruit or result, erudite scholar for knowing God as He is, and pure devotee of the personality of Godhead. Such personalities only can serve the purposes of Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of all concerned. What exactly is he talking about? Are those like Varna designations, or like? Because then he says like, what is it? I'm just having like.
No.
Like,
So
I don't understand.
this is
And-
karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga, jnana yoga,
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
and then
okay.
bhakti yogi. Such personalities only can serve Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of all concerned.
Okay. All right. No, like the valiant warrior kind of like threw me off. I was thinking like a
It's the
Kshatriya.
karma yogi. No.
That's interesting.
It's the karma yogi.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. I was reading Translator Diary, and I don't know, do we need to pass around the...
The mic, yeah.
Yeah, so in this regard, I was reading Translator Diary, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he pretty much, Prabhupada says that those grihasas who want to do business, let them do so in full swing. And then he said that they can support the Gurukul by doing so. And then he says the business must be done by the grihasas. And then he also says that pretty much those who are living on the farm, if they want to sell their produce to make money, then that's allowed. And I wanted to ask you, like, how do we understand that as far as having a farm community not really being so entangled in the outside world, but then also doing business and selling with it? It seems like it could be a little problematic.
So, one thing you will notice as we go through Srila Prabhupada's conversations on Varnashram, in the beginning in the farm communities, he was more willing to allow certain things, but later he started to like, you want water? Who wants water? So, but later he was more like restrictive on what he wanted, like allowed. Because like in the beginning he was like okay, but then later he was like no commercial farming. It's a direct quote right there. No commercial farming. He didn't like commercial farming. He didn't want commercial farming. Because, so the main thing, is that Prabhupada wanted devotees to get out of a mentality of money making, which is what it is today's society. And that if the money making mentality was brought into the farm, more than okay, your needs are taken care, be satisfied. But if it's more of the money making mentality, then it ruins everything. So, grihasthas can, and some level of business will be done on the farm, because we can't, as of now, you cannot imagine to completely disconnect yourself from a society outside. The farms need money, and so they will need both donations, and they will also have to generate some Lakshmi of their own, for which they will need to do some level of business. But if it's allowed individually, like we saw that happen in one of Guru Maharaj's own farms, like Panchavati, near Salem. And the devotees started growing tapioca. And tapioca, sells pretty well. It's a cash crop. Tapioca, sugarcane, these are all cash crops. So devotees previous to that, they came with the intention of wanting to like do this, and came and joined, and then they saw you could generate a lot of money like this. Then when they had little problems, they left, and then they just started their own agricultural business. Wow. So Maharaj was kind of like, he was making that as a point that, previously they didn't want to, they wouldn't have done this because they didn't know, but now they saw that, you can make a lot of money with this. Why do I have to be on a farm? I can make the money and I can live like I live in the city. And I get the money and I'm Krishna conscious too. So then what happens to the mission though? You see what the point is? So things like this also Prabhupada was seeing. And so he would modify. So at first he might allow certain things, and later he was like, no, don't do this.
You're saying at first maybe they might have to do that, but then
No, they will always have to do it.
They will have.
They always have to do some level of it. Even in underground they do. Now Kurma ground they don't have to do so much because they've done very successful preaching, and they just distribute books, and they make a lot of Lakshmi. That's the best. Guru Maharaj likes that method very much. Is to make it very nice, attract lots of people, distribute books like anything, maintain yourself. See, that doesn't degrade us, you see. It won't degrade. You can sell things too, but this commercial farming, it gives money. The farmers in America, they're rich people. Farmer in India is maybe poor, but farmer in America is not poor. Farmer in America is wealthy people. So
I see. It's something that should be controlled.
Yeah, see, the problem with this whole Varnashram project is you're dealing with material nature.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Because, it's therefore sometimes we allow something and then suddenly it's restricted. And that's why I was saying, it's like you're walking and you're walking in the dark and it's foggy like anything. You're like you feel like you're in the middle of a cloud. And you've got a torch. Like, because you're in Varnashram culture, so you got a torch. So a flashlight. But you can only see this much ahead. Now you keep proceeding in that direction, you may realize that that's not the direction to go, and then you might have to backtrack. It's not a failure, but the truth is it's like that. And so, but then Krishna, seated within the heart, he shines the lamp of knowledge that destroys that darkness and ignorance, but it's going to take some effort. It's a tough one. Really, therefore, actually, the pioneers of this Varnashram project, these devotees who start this, they have so much more mercy to gain than any. I mean, I'm bold enough to say that even the best book distributor, because this is such pioneering. It's very pioneering. It's just like the first book distributors who managed to crack the scene of book distribution. They did something unprecedented. So this would be like that, really unprecedented stuff. Yeah.
So one comment. In connection, you're saying like, we make steps forward, but very cautiously maintaining our stability, and then very cautiously making steps forward, maybe taking steps back.
And it's depressing to take steps back.
Yeah.
Because you walk forward and it's all pitch black and it's dark and you realize that you can't move forward because there's a big thorny hedge, and it's gonna pierce you, cut you.
Yeah.
So you gotta backtrack, and then it's like depressing, man. We gotta backtrack. Like, now which direction? What if there was a hedge in another direction? What if there's the cliff on the other side? What if there's a big lake on the other side? And which is the path to go? You don't know. But we shouldn't get depressed.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna make just an observation. That's practically what we experience at Krishna Life. It's like we make so many plans, and so many potential plans. I mean, this whole pilot project at the farm.
Oh yeah.
So many plans are made, but to see where actually things are going is very slow. But and devotees get fried out from this.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like, oh, these people are impractical, they're not on top of their minds, and they can't
changing the plan.
Change. They can't stick to one thing. But
it's tough.
But if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, what the pastimes he exhibited before he came to America, he exhibited living like that also. He had all these plans. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but he was trying to do so many things preaching in India, but everything was not working for him. Constantly investing all of his mind and all of these things and these ideas that just completely failed for him. And it's
even this idea that we're reading right now, Gita Nagari, this conception, is such an amazing thing. So amazing. Prabhupada was trying to sell it to the Indians, and the Indians wouldn't buy it. And here we are reading an article that's meant for the Indians. Prabhupada originally wrote it for the Indians, but Krishna's arrangement is that the Westerners are reading it. And we're thinking, how would we do this? It's quite amazing, is it not? How many years later? Prabhupada wrote this somewhere in the 1950s,
Yeah, it's 53.
So 53, 54.
70 years.
Yeah, we're in 2025. So that's 70 years?
Yeah, about 71.
70, 71, 72 years later. How could you imagine? That's how long? Prabhupada, how old was he when he passed away? 76?
81.
80?
When he what?
He passed away?
No. When he passed away.
81.
78.
81. I remember
77.
I don't think he was 80. I think he was
In
77.
in the year of 77,
Yeah.
but he was 81 because he was born in
I think so,
1896.
Oh, he was 81 years old. So basically, this article, we're reading it right now and benefiting it. basically it almost took the entire lifetime, the span of Prabhupada's lifetime. Not that we're the only ones who've read it, I mean, but there have been other devotees who've read it, but I'm just saying, you know, this is the kind of discussion that Prabhupada would have liked to see, you know, with this kind of article. So it's yeah.
I would like to play devil's advocate. This analogy of in the fumbling in the fog can the fear and the apprehension of the next step can maybe hinder us. Like he gave the example of Prabhupada tried things so they didn't work out and position, and sometimes if you're too hesitant you may think the rope is a snake or the snake's a rope, and you may just be scared to move at all. But if you take that step, it just might be a rope, and you're like, oh, okay, like kind of like gave too much.
There's all kinds of
Yeah.
there's all kinds of things that the considerations. Sometimes one has to take some risk. You know, that's definitely there. Some risk. Sometimes one has to take. You know,
Calculate.
we ourselves took a big risk when we moved into this building. We did the whole unpermitted renovations here. It was like, I was so scared for those several months. I was like, oh, you know, what else could you do? You know, but anyways, we're here. Krishna protected us. So definitely Krishna will also protect, you know. There's some risk we have to take sometimes. No option. We will do something. We just sit here, do nothing, what's the point? So we have to somehow take some risk, go forward, do something. And then maybe readjust a little bit later. Okay, anything else? Any other?
We see online. How do we see it like online? We don't do that.
We can see.
What about
Is
the
there anything?
notebook? There are like questions from the last class or something like that.
I don't think so.
I mean, I wrote some down. I remember, but I don't remember what it was.
What time is it?
We don't have time. That's okay. That's okay. We can post
You
it.
should bring that notebook out
Oh, okay.
every week. Okay. All right. I guess we can end a few minutes earlier.
We did start a little later. We could end a little later. Pull up that notebook.
I want to start on time. That's what I would like to do. So next week, everybody can assemble here, and we start on time, please, because it makes a difference. So. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai. Kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo
Oh my God, dude.
I literally